Siomra Beag.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to On Siomra Beag. Welcome back to the tiny room. Welcome back this week to the exceptionally cold tiny room, Benjamin, as my heating has broken down and now I'm freezing my bum off in December.
Perfect timing.
Perfect, absolutely spectacular timing, Benjamin. And as you can probably guess from the fact I'm already talking to Benjamin, I'm joined this week digitally, of course, because, you know, we're very COVID conscious here at the tiny room.
We are.
Digitally, of course, by the man who brings some warmth into all of our lives. It's Benjamin.
Hello, it's me. Michael, do you know the most effective way to warm
Yes.
the cockles of a frozen bum?
Go on, what is it?
You sing them a song, and it goes a little bit like this.
Theme music for the podcast. We don't actually have any theme music.
Very good. You see what you've done there is led into the theme music, as you so often do. Benjamin. Look, 2020 has been a heck of a year.
Oh, it's been a rough one.
There's been a lot going on. There was COVID, Ben. There were bushfires. My heating system has stopped working.
I mean, that's the greatest tragedy.
I had a puncture. But Benjamin, at least 2021 is looking up.
Yes?
But Benjamin, 2021 is looking up for none than anyone but, Ben, internet pirates.
Oh, no, not the internet pirates.
2021 is going to be a banner year, Ben, as they say, for internet pirates.
Why is
Do you see what I'm getting at, Benjamin? There's been a news announcement, Benjamin.
Yeah.
There was a news announcement a few weeks ago, Ben, that Wonder Woman, the film Wonder Woman.
Yes, it's about a woman of wonder.
Yeah, that was to be released, Ben, simultaneously in America. On
That America.
That America, that's the one, those fellas. It's to be released there, Benjamin. Now, we talked about this in the podcast before. It's to be released on Christmas Day in theatres, as they say over there. Although, you know, that doesn't make a lot of sense because who's gonna play Wonder Woman?
I mean, you'd have to get a different actress for every single theatre.
That would be ridiculous.
Be ridiculous, Michael. Be ridiculous.
Yeah. So, Benjamin, they're going to release it in cinemas, as we say in the civilized world. But they're also going to release it in America, Ben, on HBO Max on Christmas Day.
So nobody's going to the cinema, Michael.
So nobody's going to go to the cinema, Ben, because it's going to be free for internet pirates.
What? It's just not a great business move.
It's a weird one, Ben. But look, Warner Brothers, in their own inimicable way, Ben, have decided to double down on this decision. And now their entire slate of 2021 movies are coming free to piracy in next year.
So we should clear up for the listeners who maybe don't get Michael's razor-sharp humour there.
It's razor sharp, Ben. It's a hot take.
They're to have a simultaneous release schedule of both cinema and HBO Max
Ben.
for 2021.
Can I ask you, who is Simultaneous?
Simultaneous is a good friend of ours here at the podcast,
Very good.
and he's in charge of all the movie releases. And he's just so good at hitting the different switches that say release
At the same time.
At the same time, and that's
Yeah.
really what's made his career for him. We'd love to
Origin-
get him on the podcast, but he's very busy pushing all those buttons.
We'll get him on someday, Ben. Origin of the word simultaneous, actually. Not many people know that Simultaneous, our podcast co-producer, is where that word came from.
So thank you very much, Mr. Tanius, for keeping us going through
Yeah,
this
he-
2020 nightmare.
He prefers Simon. Just call him Simon.
Mr. Tanius.
He's his job is very important, but he doesn't take himself too seriously. He's a bit of a jokester, actually. Sometimes, Ben, we'll tell him to release the movies on a certain day, and he'll just put them on the internet a couple of weeks before then.
Yeah, his sister Spawn really hates that he got the good name, though.
Spontaneous, very good. Yes, I had to say it out loud, Ben. I had to say it out loud.
That probably means it wasn't a great joke. Anyway, what I was saying was HBO plans to simultaneously release all of its films, both in a digital landscape and in the cinema. Now,
in America.
In America. But Michael, if it's released on a streaming service, HBO Go in this particular case, if it's
HBO
released
Max.
on HBO Max, changed. HBO Max. If it's released on a streaming service, Michael, that means all the grubby little digital pirates will be like, oh, num 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 num.
Delicious.
Everybody can have this now.
Yeah.
And it's just, I don't think it's going to go very well for them, Michael.
Well,
Go on.
I, for one, Ben, am absolutely delighted. Now, and it might seem, Ben, I'm delighted because it means I can see the things for free. But Benjamin, as you know, this little endeavour that we do costs us money. And We
Quite a
are
bit.
we are very privileged in many ways, Ben, and one of the ways in which we are privileged is we can afford very easily to pay for our entertainment.
Yeah, we're lucky. We're
So-
lucky lads.
We have only ever, and let's do an admittance, Ben, we have only ever unknowingly watched pirated materials, not to save money, but in situations where, by some sort of mad legal rights situation, something wasn't available to us.
Yeah, exactly. Regions, Michael. What a load of dick.
I mean, regions, copyrights, various streaming platforms not being available, all of that mad nonsense.
Yeah.
And go on, sorry.
Well, that makes
You
life a
interrupt
little bit
my-
difficult for a pop culture podcast weekly.
It does, but I'm not even talking about Pop Culture Podcast, Ben, because I know that people in Ireland have been... there are internet pirates everywhere, Ben. And some of them are just cheapskates, let's be honest.
Well, look.
Oh, go on, I thought you were going to say something.
No,
you
it was
said,
just an
look, no,
Irish.
no,
It was
it's
just an
an
Irish
expression. Yeah. But Benjamin, for me anyway, I think that this is going to be a turning point in the entertainment industry.
Now, Michael, you'll have to expand on that for me.
Because Benjamin, my issue, Ben, I used to pirate TV a lot. Let's be honest.
Pot kettle black. If I make any judgment over here, Michael.
Yes, exactly, Ben. I used to watch 90% of what I watched was pirated television, Ben, and it was because it wasn't available here majorly. And I always said, Ben, if things were readily available, I would pay for them and be happy to pay for them. If they were relatively available and not extortionate. And the last couple of years, Ben, while we've been doing this podcast, I have spent, on average, probably about £5 a week on either watching TV shows or movies on Microsoft Online or YouTube Red or Amazon Prime or
Which is
any
bloody
of
good
those
of you.
things which, Ben, 10 years ago I would have pirated.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we watched Bewitched? Was it Bewitched? No, Bedeviled. Bedazzled.
Bedazzled.
No, is it Bedazzled? That doesn't sound right now.
Bewitched, bedazzled, charmed,
one
sexy
with
witches in tight latex.
The one with Elizabeth Hurley, Ben.
Bedazzled.
I paid for that. I paid to watch that film on YouTube. It was
That's good of
It was €2 pounds.
€2 poundy woundies.
£2. So, making this kind of thing available, freely available, and reasonably priced, this might be the first step in that.
Yeah, it could be a nice solid way of leveling the economic playing field.
A little bit. But also, Ben, I can't see myself not going to the cinema. If there's an option to see these in the cinema or see them at home, there are going to be some interesting decisions.
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit of a kick in the teeth for big directors. I'm speaking particularly, Michael, to my mind at the moment of Denis Villeneuve, who's made the old Dune.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And I think it would be fair to say, Michael, that he makes movies for the cinema. He creates spectacles, Michael. In the style of your classic Ben-Hur, your Cleopatras. You're meant to go there. You're meant to sit boggle-eyed for 2 hours and go, Jesus fucking wept.
A lot of people fell asleep in Blade Runner 2049, including me.
Oh, Michael.
I did. I was tired.
Michael. You'd had a long day. Day.
I don't remember. I don't remember the specifics, Ben. Maybe my heating has stopped working.
And you were sitting in the cinema for a bit of warmth.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, while you and your good lady friend are going to the cinema later on today.
Yeah, I've fallen asleep in 2 films ever, Ben. Blade Runner 2049 and SpongeBob SquarePants, the first movie.
Those are not equivalents, and it's not fair to draw that comparison as if they were.
That was quite good.
Anyway, for him, I think it's going to massively damage revenue from the cinema. And assumedly Warner Brothers will take that into account, Michael, that their revenue from the cinema will more than likely go down as a result of simultaneous releasing. But, you'd hope.
Yeah, it undoubtedly will, Ben. But they're obviously hoping that, let's say, if they can get you, Benjamin Colopy, to sign up for HBO Max because you want to see James Gunn's The Suicide Squad.
Yes.
And you might stay signed up for 4 or 5 years.
I mean, that could be a mistake I make, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You'd forget to cancel your credit card, Ben. I know you don't have a credit card, Ben. I've only ever seen you pay for things with coins.
Yeah, I just have large pockets, Michael.
Just large pockets full of
filled
coins.
with coins. Old
Yeah.
Benjamin Jingles Colopy, that's what they call me.
Old jingle pants, they call you. But what are we talking about? Anyway, look, yeah, all the films are coming to streaming, to piracy, the same day as they come to the cinema, so that'll be good.
Michael, that's 10 minutes of our podcast gone.
Yeah, we just waffled through that. Ben, what's next? There was a lot of waffle there.
Oh,
I don't even
ladies
know
and
if we made
gentlemen.
any points.
Ladies and gentlemen, oh, this is the future of your podcast entertainment right here on Michael and Benjamin's podcast. Moving on from there, Michael, swiftly and without looking back, there's been 2 bits of Marvel news this week that you brought to my attention, Michael, because I'm a big
go
old
on.
Dumbo, so launch them into me there.
Which ones, Ben?
There's bloody Hawkeye and there's a Letitia Wright
Oh,
scandal.
yeah, Ben, look. The first couple of on-set photos and videos of Hawkeye have come out, confirming, if it were needed, that Hayley Steinfeld is playing Kate Bishop. I think that was confirmed, but, you know, there's been so many swirly rumours about the Marvel TV shows, it's hard to tell.
It's hard to catch your breath, Michael. It's
Yeah.
hard to really, get through the mire and figure out where you're at.
Much more importantly than that, Ben, is the first videos and images have been released of Lucky the Pizza Dog.
Ah, sold.
Yeah.
Sold.
Now, it does seem to imply that they're going to be doing Hawkeye, My Life as a Weapon.
Is that a bad thing?
Yeah, I think it's a great thing, but the only thing about it is that Hawkeye is a single, down-on-his-luck schlub who lives in an apartment and everything is kind of gross and dishevelled. And the Hawkeye of the movies was very much a devoted father who lived in a beautiful, well-kept ranch. And, you know, he made everything himself, and he seemed to be a handyman and carpenter, and he's a very
Good
different
Christian
character.
archer.
Yeah, he's a good Christian farm boy who's, you know, so what's he going to be doing hanging around with 23-year-old Hayley Steinfeld?
Unless it's all gone horribly wrong and his wife has left him and it takes a very dark turn for a Disney Plus TV show.
It'd be very good, wouldn't it? I would kind of like to see that, to be honest with you. That his wife and kids come back and they're like, we can't be hanging around you. You went mad for that 5 years we thought you were dead.
You murdered everyone.
Everyone, all of those Japanese men.
Which kind of makes sense, because that is exactly what would happen.
Actually, maybe that does make sense. Maybe he doesn't go back to them because he can't live with the demons.
Oh, that's good. Oh,
And that's how
Michael,
that's how
quickly
he
get
meets-
Marvel on the phone there.
Well, they're already making it, Ben. So look,
No, it's not too
they're already
late.
making it. It's not.
Last
It's too
minute.
late. It's too late. There's nothing we can do about it.
Showrunner changed.
But Benjamin,
Yeah.
look, there's a lot of things going wrong at the moment. My heating system's not working. I had a puncture in my car tire this morning.
You've had a hell of a morning.
It's been very bad, Ben. But, you know, you can always count your blessings and say, at least I'm not Letitia Wright.
Yeah, so I don't know what this is about, Michael. I can't banter with this because I'm not
All right.
sure what happened.
I'll fill you in, Ben. I'll fill you in. Letitia Wright, Ben. You'll know her. You'll know her from the films, Ben. She
Yeah,
plays
Shuri.
Shuri. Yeah. And she plays Shuri, and she also plays. She was in the Black Mirror, the TV show The Black Mirror.
Oh, yeah.
She was in the episode Look at the Museum of All the Evil Shit.
Look at this awful museum.
Yeah, don't go in there. It's terrible. But it turns out she was terrible. But it all turns out in real life, she also might not be that great, Benjamin. Because what she's
no.
gone and done is posted an anti-COVID, anti-vax, anti-trans, hour-long documentary video on her Twitter page.
Oh, shite.
And almost instantly being cancelled.
That's happened twice to Disney in the past couple of weeks. It's also happened to
Oh,
Gina, what's her name in
Gina
The
Carano?
Mandalorian?
Yeah, Gina Carano got
It's
in a
also
bit of
happened to
trouble
her.
as well.
She's a big anti-masker, pro-Trumper, and there's bloody... She was just about to get her own show. Shuri was just about to inherit the bloody Black Panther title.
Well, that's a funny thing. I read a very interesting article, Ben, and I can't remember where it was from, but and the article was this was fascinating to me. But it was that Letitia Wright Shuri as Black Panther would never work because the community that made Black Panther such a success is still too patriarchal to accept a female Black Panther.
Now that, Michael, is a can of worms.
Isn't it? Isn't that a can of worms which we're going to stay well away from?
But on our two white men, middle class white men in Ireland podcast.
It was a very, well, at least one of us is cold. It was a very interesting article, though, Ben, saying that, I mean, the people who love Black Panther, there's a sizable percentage of them who would not be willing to accept a female Black Panther. And they said the only solution, and we talked about this privately, Ben, but we didn't talk about it on the podcast because you know, it was a bit soon
to talk about.
It was a bit soon after Chadwick's death. No, we didn't talk about. We talked about replacing Chadwick Boseman, but they said the only people who would be acceptable were Michael B. Jordan, bring him back, redeem him.
That'd be good.
That would be my favourite. Let Winston Duke become the Black Panther.
That'd be awfully good. I'd watch that.
Yeah. Winston Duke's a bit camp, but M'Baku isn't.
M'Baku is not at all.
Yeah, but M'Baku is a bit too funny, I think, to be Black Panther.
Yeah, he occasionally has those moments. Who else would you pick, Michael?
Or, well, this article that I read, and I can't remember where it was, Ben, suggested, oh God, what's Denzel Washington's son's name from Tenet?
Oh, is it not
his
Denzel
name David?
too?
Is it David Washington?
Yeah,
I've forgotten his name. His name. Yeah, him. Just recast. Don't change character. Just recast.
Oh, I think that's controversial because they just launched their Remembering Chadwick logo. I don't know if you saw that, Michael.
Yeah, I did see that.
It's his birthday this week, or it was his birthday this week, and so the Russo brothers have just done their retrospective on how wonderful he was to work with and stuff like. I don't think you can recast him.
I don't know, Ben. I don't know. It'll be an interesting time.
Well, I think it's safe to say that Letitia Wright won't be getting the job.
I'd say Kevin Feige is absolutely sweating bricks.
Yeah, what am I supposed to do with my...
what do I do about this?
Yeah, COVID. A hell of a thing, 2020.
Hell of a thing.
Also, the Amber Heard petition to get her removed from Aquaman 2 has reached over... Is it something ridiculous like... Is it 15 million signatures?
Over 6 signatures.
15 million signatures, Michael, to date. So that's significant.
Did 15 million people even go and see Aquaman?
No,
it
they
made a billion, didn't it? No, they probably did. It made $1 billion.
I think there's probably a lot of men's rights activists out there just sharpening their
activists, Ben. It's interesting. So Letitia Wright has been pretty much... It's been trial by internet.
Oh, good.
But it just goes to show you how quickly these things can turn on you if you do something dumb.
Yeah, I mean...
Did you see Don Cheadle's tweet, Ben?
No, what did he say?
He just tweeted, "Bye, Letitia."
Excellent work from Don. Good.
Yeah, terrifying. I wouldn't want to be on Don Cheadle's bad side, even though he's a tiny little man.
Yeah, but I think he's got scary energy, Michael.
He's got Hollywood connections.
He's got scary energy.
Yeah.
Speaking of dumb things, Michael.
Uh-oh, here we go. Watch as Ben Colopy puts his foot in it.
The Chinese, grand bunch of lads.
The Chinese, Ben. They've never done any harm to anyone.
Got a little preview, Michael, of Monster Hunter, the new movie from Mila Jovovich and Paul. I'm going to get his name wrong. It's not Paul.
Paul W. Anderson.
Paul W. Anderson.
Yeah, that's the fella.
It had its premiere yesterday, Michael.
Good.
In the old China there, grand bunch of lads.
Grand bunch of lads. I imagine it's a bag of shite, Ben.
It probably is, Michael. I don't trust either of those people, Mila Jovovich or Paul Anderson, to really do it justice. But anyway, Michael, it doesn't matter because they've done gone and offended an entire nation.
Oh, classic.
Yeah, Michael. There were rumors swirling that there was a kind of a racial slur in the middle of it that offended a great deal of Chinese people. So much so, Michael, they've all taken to the game site. Capcom makes the video game on which this is based, and they've begun to really just shit on the game through thousands and thousands and thousands of negative reviews. And you might think, Michael, when you were looking this up and trying to find what the slur was, that it was something horrific.
Yeah, I came up with a list, Ben. I'm not going to repeat any of them.
We're not going to repeat any of those on air, Michael. And we went through, the classic kind of, vintage racial slurs for Chinese people, the modern, updated racial slurs for things.
Yeah.
And no, Michael. At one point,
Yeah.
a character named Jin
Yeah.
gets up on a jeep
Yeah.
and to another character says, "Hey, what kind of knees are these?" And he points at his own knees, to which the other character looks a little bewildered.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "Chinese."
And is he a Chinese character, Ben?
He is, yeah, I looked it up while we were chatting.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that film is being cancelled then.
No, it hasn't, Michael. It's been taken from cinemas, re-edited, and sent out again.
I had a bit of a look into this, Ben.
Go on.
It seems like a lot of it is stemming from the fact that the Chinese and Japanese, Ben, historically not the best of friends.
Didn't get on.
Not the greatest of friends, the Chinese and the Japanese, Ben. And Monster Hunter is obviously a Japanese game.
It is.
So I think there's a little bit of sensitivity there.
Yeah, as in, any chance the Japanese will get there, they'll really stick it to us. Is that where we're at?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, like the Japanese have had the Americans put this racial slur about the great and powerful land of China, great bunch of lads, into their horrible imperialist film.
Oh, those sons of guns.
Yeah. You know what? You know what the Chinese need, Ben?
Go on.
The Chinese need to come to Ireland and watch the film Wild Mountain Thyme, and then see how they feel. Then see how they feel. I'm going to cancel Emily Blunt. I'm going to review bomb Emily Blunt's Steam page.
One of my favourite things, Michael, and this is completely anecdotal, but it'll humble your opinion of our little island.
Go on.
I was roommates when I went to Florence, Michael, at one point, with a Chinese girl, and I was trying to tell her where I was from.
Yes.
And I kept explaining, I was like, Ireland. She was like, oh, Holland. And I was like, no, Ireland. And I was trying to explain it to her over and over. And I had to show it to her on a map. She had no idea that Ireland existed. It was
Ben,
very humbling.
You'll remember, Ben, that I did live in Asia for a while.
You did?
Yeah, so I've many times had that experience. But I also, Ben,
really?
had that I also had that experience, Ben, in the USA.
Oh, good.
For example, I was in Florida, in Jacksonville, and I met a woman who didn't know what a passport was. And when she asked me, where do you live? And I said, Ireland. And she said, how's the weather on the island? I was like, are we, what? What's happening? What's this conversation?
What's that now?
Yeah, what's this? Anyway, Benjamin, look, it's a crappy Paul Wes Anderson film, which is usually snuck out in a January release, which is kind of, has managed to creep out a bit earlier. So, I'll see it. But
it's releasing in the States on the 25th, Michael.
And when do we get it? When do we get it on piracy, Ben?
Probably sooner than that, Michael. I'm assuming if it's out in China, it'll be out soon enough here.
Oh, there you go. That's much more racist than that joke from the film.
Is it?
Yeah.
No, isn't it? It's been released early somewhere else, so pirates, no matter where they are, will just go, okay, I'll just take that then.
No, what they'll actually say, Ben, is, Yar! We'll just get that booty for ourselves now.
Yar, high definition rip.
And no cam versions, though. High quality streams only for us pirates.
Yar.
The Queen's Gold.
An Oscar screener, yar.
Yar. Property of Warner Brothers.
Yar.
Yar, I lost me leg in the great Warner Brothers release schedule of 2021.
It was to diabetes because I sat in front of the computer and ate too much candy, but still, yar.
I'll never forgive the man who took me leg. One of these days I'll track him down. I'll stand in front of him. I'll point me musket at him and I'll say, Simultaneous, this is for all the suffering you've caused to the pirate community.
Yar.
Yar. What are we doing?
We're moving on from there, Michael, swiftly yet again. Speaking of Japan...
Benjamin, there's been nothing swift about this episode of this podcast
no, not really.
whatsoever.
Well, we may as well hit our last two little bits, Michael.
Right,
Speaking of Japan, first of all, Mr. Oscar Isaac has been cast in a Solid Snake adaptation into the films, into the movies.
That'll be good, Ben. I'll enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean, Oscar Isaac, what's not to love? Let's go watch it.
He's good in everything. He was even good as Poe Dameron, hated character Poe Dameron.
Hated Cameron, Poe Darrington, which is what I was about to say there.
The Irish version, yeah. Poe Darrington, yeah, the Irish.
Poe Darrington, you old scoundrel.
Paul Darrington from Cork. He's from Cove.
We had a little bit of sad news this week, Michael, in that Hugh Keys-Byrne of Immortan Joe fame in Mad Max passed away at 73.
Ah, that's a shame, Ben.
Yeah, he was pretty good in that there film, Michael.
He was also in the first one, Ben. He was Toe Cutter.
He was Toe Cutter. I'd say that Immortan Joe was a bit of an upgrade in fairness to him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he's gone Erschlina Firna there, so he's up on out of there. And then, Michael, the last bit of interesting news
Yes.
is that we've been made aware that one Elliot Page is now to take Hollywood by storm.
Yes. Very interesting, Ben.
Yes, very interesting, Michael. Former actress Ellen Page, now Elliot Page, has announced that he is transgender. And that is the way he'd like to be referred to from now on. And my immediate question, Michael...
What about the bloody Umbrella Academies?
What about the Umbrella Academies? And I don't think it's too much of a stretch, Michael, to say in a timey-wimey jump that genders might be reassigned. Because we had another time jump there, didn't we? In at the end of Umbrella Academy.
I mean, yeah, that's a possibility.
We
The other possibility, Ben, is that the actor Elliot Page just acts as a female character, Vanessa Hargreaves.
Nice.
That could happen.
That could happen. No, Michael, my immediate thought, sadly, was something much sadder. I was like, I wonder what the internet thinks of this.
Oh, yeah, the internet's a grand old place, isn't it?
Grand old place. And actually, it wasn't that. It was pretty well received, Michael. I was surprised.
Generally quite positive.
I was quite surprised. I was pleasantly surprised by the internet this week. And it all went over, apart from the occasional far-right commentator.
Ah, well, they're a grand bunch of lads. Letitia Wright, for example.
Letitia Wright. Letitia far-right, as she'll now be known. And yeah, I mean, look, what are you going to do, Michael? Good for Elliot. Look forward to seeing what he's about.
When you say what are you going to do, one thing we'll have to do is retire our running character of world's tiniest lesbian Ellen Page.
Yes, it's now world's tiniest heterosexual Elliot Page.
Yes, so that's totally fine. All right, Ben, let's move on.
Totally grand. Moving on from there, Japan. You talked about Japan today. I talked about Japan today, and today's topic, Michael, is one all my own little focus, and that is, why are there so many European settings, influences, etc. in anime?
Yeah.
Michael, why on earth has that happened? So I took a little deep dive this week, Michael, into exactly why that might be. And there's some pretty interesting answers as we go along, Michael.
It bloody better be, Ben, because you got 25 minutes to fill.
Yeah, absolutely. So number one, Michael, is that a lot of those European influences come in two distinct forms. One is Germany and one is England. Now, we're not really going to get into the post-Brexit identity crisis that is Britain even European anymore? Because within this particular field, all these movies were made pre-Brexit, or all these animes were piloted pre-Brexit.
What a clever loophole you found.
I'm not going to get into that. But the German ones fascinate me a little bit more than most, because that German influence is heavy throughout a lot of very popular animes now. And a lot of that is medieval Germany or Bavarian aesthetic, Michael, which I found fascinating.
People in the Lederhosen, Ben.
The Lederhosens, yeah. One of the ways that I've decided to tackle this, Michael, because there's quite a bit to get through, is that I've broken it into three little categories.
Benjamin, you love doing that.
I love a category. It helps me organise my chaotic little brain.
Yeah, you love putting things in boxes.
I love putting things in boxes, Michael. Yeah. But as we'll find out later, boxes don't always suit. Setting, Michael, is my number one box.
Right.
Lore is my number two box.
Right, Data's brother.
And then appearance and aesthetic is my number three box.
Oh, I see. Three delicious boxes.
Is delicious box number two, Lore, actually the name of Data's brother?
Yeah, Data's brother's name is Lore.
That's bananas.
Yeah.
You learn something new every day, Michael.
Every day. That's the point of the podcast, for people to learn semi-obscure Star Trek facts.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Michael, one of the key influences in this kind of little European graw that Japan has is Hayao Miyazaki, which I'm going to get definitely wrong, because I always get it wrong. We're going to say Miyazaki, because I know that one's absolutely right.
That's fine, yeah.
And I think the first name is Hayao, but I can't say that with 100% certainty, so we're going to go with Miyazaki. Miyazaki has famously made many beloved Japanese anime films. He is the founder of Studio Ghibli over there in Japan.
Yeah, is that pronounced Ghibli?
Could be, yeah. I could be completely wrong on that as well. Studio Ghibli, whatever you prefer. Let's go with Ghibli. I'd say you're probably right, Michael.
Getting bloody Ghibli with it. No.
That was good. So Studio Ghibli has many films that are heavily European influenced. Now, Miyazaki has said himself that he loves Europe, and frequently, before making a movie, he will send a bunch of lads from the L studio on
whole
over
gang
to
of them.
Europe on a study mission, kind of get some painting done, get some preliminary sketches, get some inspiration for his films. And he's also been heavily influenced by Victorian literature and British literature. So those two things have come together, Michael, and they've created kind of the Geely world, if you will. And there are lots of different examples of it. I'm just going to get my notes out here.
Get your notes out for the lads, Ben.
So get your notes out for the lads. Academic sexiness all round. So, one of the most famous films to come from the Studio Ghibli is Spirited Away, Michael.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's about the girl who gets kidnapped to a monster world.
Indeed. And it's been heavily influenced by none other, Michael, than Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, yes, it's very Alice in Wonderland, isn't it?
The Alice in Wonderland. And that's a big one. However, interestingly, Michael,
Go on.
the actual aesthetic of it is a little bit more Russian than it would be European in general. However, there are some moments. It's a nice Japanese-Russian fusion. What do I mean by that, Michael? The entire bathhouse, the big mythical bathhouse that Spirited Away is based in, is that. And then Baba Yaga is kind of the big old lady. I can't remember her name in the movie. She's the big scary kind of bird lady.
Let's just call her Babushka.
Yeah, Babushka. And she's a little bit more based in Eastern European folklore and Russian folklore, because they often run together, Michael. And she has a sister, and it's like the two sisters of Slavic myth, the night and the day, which you might have seen in various forms. And that all kind of influences that one. And then a lot of the strange creatures that pop up, there's a giant baby, which has its place in Slavic folklore as well. And any folklore that has a giant baby in it, Michael, I don't want a part of. No, thank
it's
you.
terrifying.
No, thank you.
Did you ever play the game Zombies Ate My Neighbors on the Sega Mega Drive?
I did not.
There's a giant baby in that. Coming to get you.
Oh, no, thank you.
He's coming to get you and he's squirting you with his big milky bottle.
No grazie. No gracias. No danke. I'll have less of that. Squirt you with a big bottle.
Yeah, he's no use.
I don't like that.
He's 50 feet. 50-foot baby.
I don't like that at all.
No, keep away from him.
No,
Sorry,
no.
get back on point.
Terrifying. Anyway, there are other influences we go, Michael, but probably the most heavily European influenced one was Porco Rosso, which quite simply means red pig.
Red pig, Ben.
But it's set in Italy and the Mediterranean coast during World War. It's World War One.
Right.
No, or World War Two. Crap.
One of them.
One of the world wars. One of those bad things that happened.
Yeah.
And in this one, Miyazaki kind of got to profess his love of kind of early aircraft design, especially in the European aesthetic of World War One and World War Two. That's a big love letter to kind of the planes of that era and the mechanics of that era and that whole thing.
Is everything like, Ben, I haven't seen it, is everything like wooden structures with fabric stretched over it?
Yeah, we've got a lot of that. But you've also got the classic kind of biplane design and things like that. So it's not all material and things like that. But it's moving on from there, that kind of obsession with it grew, Michael. And then we saw Hell's Moving Castle.
Benjamin, that's how biplanes are made.
Is it stretched fabric?
Yeah.
Oh, you see what I've done there, Michael? I put my foot in it.
Yeah, you see, I was setting you up there to kind of make that point, but then you said, but no, Mick, not that stupid thing you've just suggested.
I didn't say that. That's not what I said.
You absolute son of a bitch. You are worse than... You're trying to cancel me, trying to get me cancelled like Letitia Wright.
That's why I took your Twitter away, Michael, because I don't want you to get cancelled.
I don't have Twitter anymore.
So... Anyway, that kind of love of European engineering and design grew a little bit in Howl's Moving Castle. When we move into Howl's Moving Castle, which is based on a Welsh book, Michael, by Diana Wynne Jones.
A Welsh book, or as it's also known, a book.
A book. A lovely book to have a read of. So that's based on that. And in there, we got to see the World War II era design thing, because there are two fictional nations at war in Howl's Moving Castle. And that's what we got to see there. But as he travelled around the world, Michael, a lot of his stories became influenced by his travels as a young man, because Miyazaki travelled around Europe when he was a wee young fella, Michael.
When he was a bairn, as they say in Scotland, which is part of Europe.
Yep. Good man. You nailed
Thank
that.
you.
Well done.
Thank you.
And a lot of those different countries influence different stories. So Kiki's Delivery Service is set on a kind of fictional town in Sweden. Set on a real town. Is a fictional story set around a real town in Sweden. My apologies.
Take that, Sweden.
And this new fictional country.
I've never believed in Sweden, to be honest. I've always had my suspicions about that. I don't know where I stand on Sweden.
Scandinavia's not real.
Yeah. We're Scandinavian deniers here at the podcast. Don't get me started on Finland, Ben.
More like Fakeland, am I right?
I don't know.
Anyway, to all our Scandinavian listeners, dreadfully sorry.
Very sorry.
But this huge influence, Michael, has led to kind of an academic branding of his style of anime, which is called EuroWorld. And it's this notion of a fictional amalgamated Europe existing within anime. And a lot of people that came after were heavily influenced by the kind of Euro world that Miyazaki created. So as we move through that, Michael, that setting becomes more and more common, especially, as I said, that German setting.
Right.
As we go through, particularly Bavaria. So Bavaria is the kind of old world tradition area of Germany, if you want to look at it that way. Up there near the mountains, lots of traditions, Michael, as you so aptly pointed out earlier in the podcast. Lederhosen,
yeah. Houses where the top is made of wood and the bottom is made of bricks.
Yeah, so the Oktoberfest idea, all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's a Bohemia-inspired aesthetic, little houses, windy towns, that kind of thing. Now,
Castle on a hill.
A castle on a hill, if you will. Go
With
get yourself a castle. So that aesthetic has influenced multiple anime iterations and Japanese culture in general, one of them being Castlevania.
Oh, I've heard of it and played it.
Heard of it and played it, Michael. That entire European Gothic aesthetic dominates Castlevania and kind of makes it a whole thing.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Ben, playing games made by Japanese companies but set in Europe.
Yeah, it's
and
a bit mad.
Obviously, the anime and the game thing overlap, Ben. And you're looking at it going, where's this supposed to be?
What is this?
What is this place? Why is there a Medusa in Transylvania? What's she doing there? She doesn't belong there. That's all mixed up.
Would you ever get out of here, Medusa? You're supposed to be in the Mediterranean.
What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here in Transylvania. Also, why is Transylvania only forest? I suppose the name does kind of give it away, doesn't it? Yeah, that's what it means. Never mind. That's a moot point.
We'll edit it out later, Michael.
Yeah, we'll edit it out. So I only say something that makes sense.
So that European Gothic aesthetic has influenced a lot of popular animes, but the most popular one recently, Michael, would probably be Attack on Titan.
I've seen it, Ben. You made me watch it for one of our very earliest episodes.
Yeah, so not the little, but the villages there are based on Bavarian design, Michael. They're little circle towns that emanate outwards, and they got big walls to fight off against the big giant people. But you've got lots of characters named Hans and things like that.
You do.
And they've got
Gunther.
And Gunther, exactly, Michael. So we've got a real heavy European, occasionally militaristic tilt, which always makes me a bit nervous, Michael. Whenever somebody kind of fetishizes German military history, you sweat a little bit.
I don't know. They were only real bad eggs for about 100 years there.
Yeah, but you still say German military history, and it's the first thing that pops to mind, Michael.
I was watching the latest episode, Ben, of The Mandalorian, episode 14.
Don't tell me.
I'm not going to spoil anything, but there is, funnily enough, that you've said it, there is a kind of small walled town wherein the guards have quite a German World War I aesthetic.
Oh, that's not the latest episode, Michael. That's the one with the Ahsoka Tano.
Oh, that's the previous one. That's the one with the
previous one. I've watched that as well, Michael. It's very good.
Yeah, not made in Japan, so not really relevant for here. But it isn't the Mandalorian weird though for having tiny settlements controlling a planet? Like it appears about 100 people live on that planet.
Yeah, it's the same with the previous planet as well, Michael. It's like way over here on this side of the planet, there's the Imperial Fortress. And then over the other side is Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
If we could just get rid of the Imperial Fortress.
Anyway, Ben, let's talk about Japanese using the Western.
That entire thing has infused it, and it's filled with kind of references to Jaegers and hunters and things like that using the German language, which is really, really interesting. And Michael, I put this out to the listeners a little bit after that, and a good friend of the podcast, Kron.
Yeah, I've heard of him. He's a good egg.
Gave me a good shout out. He said Full Metal Alchemist seems to be obsessed with old style military garb from Europe. And he's bloody right, Michael. Have you ever watched Full Metal Alchemist?
I haven't been.
Well, if you are going to watch it, Michael, start with Brotherhood. It's the better one of the two. There are two versions. There's Full Metal Alchemist and then there's Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. And Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood was written after the manga was completed and is better.
Let's see.
By all
Is it a
accounts.
Retelling, Ben?
No, they keep fairly true to the original one, but you see, the original series went off its own direction because, it wasn't finished yet.
Game of Thrones.
Whereas this one was a lot more focused in on the actual manga. And the actual manga's writer, Arakawa, is a lady, and she uses that name only. She has a mononym.
Oh.
And Arakawa has been very upfront about her obsession with Europe post-Industrial Revolution. She said that she read a book on the Industrial Revolution in Europe and became obsessed with the way in which so many countries evolved in such close proximity, but in such different ways. She's found it really interesting how so many different cultures just kind of developed in their own direction as they went along. And her world of Full Metal Alchemist is kind of, again, like a EuroWorld version of it. And it could be argued that in the middle of it, the world that we're introduced to with Elric and Alphonse is kind of England meets Germany meets, the very Western pushed Europe. And then as we travel through that world, Michael, we're introduced to the Nordic countries and the Arabic countries and things like that within Full Metal Alchemist. But
not Scandinavia, though, because that's not real.
Scandinavia's not real, Michael. As we've always said, we should get t-shirts.
Scandinavia doesn't exist.
Scandinavia is what we'll say.
Very good. That's a good slogan, Ben.
That'll be good. We'll put that on the t-shirts, Michael. Oh God, we've just lost all our listenership in Scandinavia.
What listenership, Ben? They don't exist.
Nobody listens to this podcast.
Oh yeah, well there's that first of all, and then there's the fact that anyone from Scandinavia is probably a bot anyway, unless they can prove otherwise.
Prove us wrong.
Send us a picture of you wearing a t-shirt that says Scandinavia on it.
That'd be great. I'd love that. That'd be amazing. So, Michael, because my brain is just running at 90 miles an hour. But what's really interesting there, Michael, is that the military structure of Germany is mimicked within the structure of the world of Full Metal Alchemist. So you have state alchemists, and they're kind of the upper military echelon of that society because they can do a little bit of magic.
Oh, good.
Although it's not magic in that world, it's just very advanced science to them.
It's the Force, yeah.
It's the Force. An M count, Michael. That was one of my favorite things about one of the episodes of The Mandalorian. They wouldn't
Stop
say
talking about The Mandalorian.
They wouldn't say midichlorians. They're like M count, and they're like, oh yeah, okay, all right. Sorry. Anyway, moving back from that, the military garb of that entire world, of that kind of Euro world, is very much modeled after early Prussian Bavarian uniforms, and it's fascinating, Michael. So good shout to Kron for that, because I went and had a good hard look at that. But Michael, that's the first time that I noticed something very unusual happening in Japanese anime, and that was that the main antagonists are homunculi. And the homunculi in the world of Full Metal Alchemist are animated beings, like golems, Michael, from Czech mythology. They're animated beings, but they're named after the 7 deadly sins. So you've got your wrath, your gluttony, your envy, etc., 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 and the other 4 lads that go with that, your lust, etc. And each of their powers are based on...
You're Letitia Wright.
your Letitia Wright, as we go along. And those are all based. But that was the first time that I'd kind of seen that. And then, Michael, I went on a little deep dive from there. And it turns out that anime is a bit obsessed with Catholic lore. There are multiple iterations now that do that. And we've talked a little bit before, Michael, about Arthurian legends and things like that. And there's a very popular anime out at the moment that's called The Seven Deadly Sins. And it's about a group of beings that have kind of manifested godlike powers in medieval Europe based on their sin. So you have Pride, who's the most powerful of the sins, but only as long as he believes he's the most powerful of the
like Captain Britain.
Sins. A bit like Captain Britain. Yeah, a bit like that. But that's set in Old Britannica, Michael, which is just Britain, basically. But their main conflict, Michael, is with the French equivalent in their little EuroWorld designation, and that's the Leon something or others. But that's a weird little nod to the War of the Roses and stuff like that that's going on in that world. And everywhere they go is based on little medieval European towns, Michael. And that's really interesting. And I went deep diving from there. And it turns out, Michael, that a lot of that comes from the big fascination they have with Dark Souls, which is medieval European folklore galore and Catholic, kind of weird, deep-dived Catholic lore and things like that. You've saints of sulfur and death, and it's really interesting.
Yeah, that's Ben. But Dark Souls itself is quite recent.
Yeah, I know.
Dark Souls itself only comes from the 2010s.
I know, but it seems to have had another kind of little push and wave of new anime coming from that.
Well, I mean, have you ever played it, Ben?
No, Michael. I hate video games because I'm very bad at them, and I hear this one's quite a toughie.
It's actually not that tough, Ben. It's just the gameplay mechanic itself revolves around dying and learning from your mistakes. And as you know, that's not something that really suits you. So
no, I like to be alive.
Yeah, very good. I was more joking about not learning from your mistakes, but never mind. Anyway, it's a very, very good game, Ben. But one of the weirdest things about it is the absolutely weird and horrible weird setting.
Yeah, it's a weird purgatory land, isn't it?
It's set in it's a weird world, Ben. It's basically it has its own mythology with its own gods and its own kind of prehistory. Yeah. But the character that you play comes into the world as the world is ending.
Oh, and that's not good.
It's not good from a sense of you probably don't want that, but maybe you do, Ben. And the world has been struck down, Ben. It's a kind of medieval European world.
Yes.
But it's been struck down by a curse of undeath, where no one dies anymore. But every time you die in this horrible world, you go slightly more mad.
Ooh.
It's a process called hollowing, Ben.
Ooh.
And once you've died too many times and not regained your soul, you go irrevocably mad.
Well, that's a bit grim.
It is. It's very grim. It's a very grim and horrible world. And it's also almost entirely empty. Because there's very little left. Even the sun, Ben, is fake.
What?
Yeah, the sun is fake. Isn't that cool?
You can't have a fake sun.
You can, Ben. It's a god, but it's a god pretending to be another god. It's mad shit. But it's set in a kind of almost kind of late Renaissance Europe, where you start in this grim and gritty kind of really video gamey world, but you end up in this kind of abandoned European Catholic cathedral.
Nice.
It's kind of like the cathedral in Milan and a bit of Paris.
Oh yeah.
You end up in this, and there's like probably 50 other beings in the whole city, and everyone is weird and mad.
That's good, isn't it?
It is. It's really good. It's a really good setting, Ben. But it's a world of knights and dragons and gods, and there are Arthurian things about it as well. You end up in things like deep wells and
no good.
The bottom of the world and stuff. And it's a weird, gross, horrible setting, but it's a fascinating setting, and it really is something that only, I feel, a different culture taking another culture's myths and legends and basically reinventing them could come up with.
Yeah, so it's a lore through the lens of another culture that doesn't really understand the lore.
Well, I wouldn't make the presumption that they don't understand it, but they
that was a bit presumptuous. My apologies.
Yeah, a little bit. Like, let's say, Ben, the likes of World of Warcraft or Warhammer or Game of Thrones or any of those fantasy things set in European analogies, something kind of Europe's.
Analogies.
Yeah, they're set in kind of Europe's.
Yeah, EuroWorld.
But the European ones are very much Europe. I mean, in Game of Thrones, the North is the North.
Yes.
And, the place where the Spanish people live is Spain.
Yes.
It's Europe. Wales is Wales.
Yep.
So, it's Europe. But and I think it's another Miyazaki who's responsible for this, funnily enough, just a different, same name. It's such a bizarre pseudo-Europe world. It's one of the most engaging worlds to be drawn into you'll find in a game.
Well, that's good, isn't it? That sounds...
And apparently, Ben,
go on,
in and of itself, highly inspired by the anime and manga Berserk.
Yes, Michael. So in 1989...
Go on.
There was a manga launched in Japan, where it often is.
I've heard of it, yeah. I've heard of Japan, yeah.
Heard of Japan.
I've been there, Ben.
Have you been to Japan, Michael?
I've been to Japan many times, Ben.
I've never been to Japan. I'd love to go to Japan sometimes. Did you live in Japan?
I didn't live in Japan, Ben.
No.
I've been to Japan.
You've been to Japan?
Great. It's a wonderful place, Japan, Ben.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a fantastic
We must
place.
go sometime and do a guest podcast in Japan.
Let's go do a guest podcast in Japan. That will be enormously expensive.
Yeah, sure. But it's grand. We make loads of money off this podcast, so...
Oh, well, Ben, I suppose we'll have to pay less with the advent of piracy in 202021. So,
it'll be grand. We can save up all the money.
On that. Yeah.
We would have spent on cinema tickets.
Go and do a special in Japan.
It was created by Kentaro Miura. And Kentaro Miura was a bit of a Europe nut as well, I suppose.
A Europhile.
A bit of a Europhile, Michael. And he created around two primary characters. A mercenary called Guts, a lone mercenary.
Oh, Guts.
And Griffith, who was the leader of a band of mercenary called the Band of Hawks. And it's set
this all sounds very generic so far.
It does, yeah. It was set in medieval Europe. And Michael, shockingly, this ran until 2016. So
wow.
1989 to 2016, it's been adapted multiple times, and it's very similar to what you're describing in Dark Souls, in that it's another culture's interpretation of lore, and you end up getting kind of sucked into it. It's not necessarily a realistic depiction of medieval Europe in any sense, but they're not a million miles off, and it's just an odd experience to watch and go through and, enjoy.
Look, Benjamin, though, far be it for us to say it's odd when Japanese people make video games and anime and manga about European culture, because Europeans and Americans have been doing that about Eastern stories for years.
Too long, Michael.
Non-stop.
Too long.
Have you ever seen a ninja, Ben?
Yeah, so this was pointed out by good friend of the podcast, Nine Wassies, on the Instagram. He said it's no different to us making a million different movies about Yakuza or ninjas or samurai. And that got me thinking, Michael, that the last Samurai, starring one Mr. Tom Cruise, in which one man saves an entire Japanese village. One white man, I might point out, saves an entire Japanese village.
Funnily enough, Ben, I think that's not a great example, because that is... Okay, you could argue that there are some white savior aspects to it, but that's very much about a white man going to live in Japan and learning about Japanese culture. You know what I mean?
Damn it.
I was thinking more like Lego Ninja Storm.
You mean Ninjago, Michael?
Ninjago, yeah, where they're like, we're ninjas and we're on Chinese dragons for some reason, and there's, shurikens. Here come shurikens coming at you. What has any of that got to do with Japan?
I like to call it pissing on the grave of your ancestors Japanese fiction. It's
very good.
Real good. It's real good. That's an excellent example, though. I think Lego's probably guilty in a few different ways of homogenizing different cultures and
Well,
mashing
yeah,
them
I
together.
mean, I don't know much about Ninjago, Ben, and I don't think there are even any connections to Japan other than the fact that they've taken
the word
the
ninja.
concept of ninjas.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm sure there are hundreds of video games about being a ninja and being a samurai, which have had no Japanese people involved and aren't even set in Japan.
Well, I mean, Western comics are particularly guilty of that. I think far more in the case of look at the Netflix Daredevil universe.
There's ninjas everywhere, Ben.
There's ninjas everywhere, Michael. Look at all the Ra's al Ghul work with Batman or Arrow.
But those ninjas, Ben, didn't turn out to be Asian Japanese ninjas. They turned out to be disgruntled teens, if you remember.
Is that the hand from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
No, that's the hand from...
Or is that the foot? Wait,
that's the foot. They were robots. The hand from Iron Fist turned out to be disgruntled teens. I can't think, Ben, off the top of my head, of an equivalent to, let's say, Dark Souls, which we've been discussing, wherein a European comic book producer or movie producer has created an entirely fictionalized
Japan,
East Asian world.
I'm sure there is.
You know
one.
what I mean? Like Dark Souls is set in the kingdom of Lordran.
Ah, yes, Lordran.
Yeah. Is there an equivalent where a European company has created a fictional Japanese world? I can't think of one off the top of my head, Ben.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, I don't know either.
I don't know either.
No, I can't think of any, Ben. Maybe the listeners.
Perhaps, Michael, the listeners would like to let us know and tell us what we missed here. Where's our giant Amalga Japan? Or Amalga Asia? Where's that? What is that?
It doesn't
Find that
exist.
for us, will you? A lot like Scandinavia, it doesn't exist. Yeah, if you're from Scandinavia, if you're really from Scandinavia, get in touch with us. Send us a message. Scandinavia, get out of here. Get in touch with us in the following places, ladies and gentlemen. If you have ideas for episodes, if there's anything you'd like to hear discussed on the podcast, or if you'd like to prove that Scandinavia is in fact real and definitely there, get in touch with us here. www.showmegood.com.
That's too many W's.
SEOMORABEAG.com.
Means tiny room in Irish. Ben, I've just remembered I've been to Scandinavia.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
I've been
have I.
there.
I've been
I've
to
been
Denmark
there. It
and
was
Sweden.
real.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
it
real
was real.
place. Never mind.
Never
Get in touch with us with episode ideas or to tell us about animes that are European inspired that we missed. You can
Or
also
vice
get in
versa.
Or vice versa. You can get in touch with us on the gram at Seomrabeag, SEOMORABEAG.
It still kind of means tiny room in Irish.
And you can join us in 2 weeks' time when we'll be talking about...
Hold on, I'll check the calendar, Ben. 2 weeks? It's not 2 weeks. It's next week.
Join us in a week's time when we'll be talking about...
Ben, this is weekly. This has always been weekly. We've been doing this for 3 years.
This podcast isn't real, Michael.
Like Scandinavia. What are we talking about, Ben? I'll look up the calendar for you.
Give us a look at the old calendar.
Oh,
there.
Lex!
Lex! So
The TV show Lex.
TV show Lex.
Speaking of mad shit.
So if you or anyone you know remembers the TV show Lex, get in touch with us. Tell us what you thought of it.
Watch a bit of it.
And as always, thank you for listening to us, ladies and gentlemen. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Now, hold on, Ben. I'm just going to record this. I just want this threat to be very clearly on air. You better watch some of Lex, you son of a bitch.
It's all up on YouTube, I think, Michael.
If I'm sitting here next week going, Ben, and do you remember in episode 7? And you go, look, Mick, I got to be honest, I didn't watch any of it. I'm going to be very upset.
You made me much more Dublin than I actually am there. Look, Mick, I'm
I'm
honest.
very upset. I'll be very upset if I have to suffer through it and you don't.
Lexing alone, next week's episode. And we'll talk to you then. Bye.
Oh, goodbye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Or as they say in Europe, oh, goodbye, everybody.
I'll feed a new.
Oh, very good.
Yes.
Guten Tag, agus Kawil on Obervalja.
Yeah. Bye.